Welcome, beautiful Nicole. I'm so happy to have you here. I really want to welcome you to the Magnetic Mama podcast and video series. I'm very excited today because we're going to have a live mentoring session. So I really hope I can give you lots of value for your beautiful business. So I'd really love you to introduce yourself and share with us, what do you do?
Thanks, Leonie, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I've watched lots of your other videos, and I think it's an awesome platform for sharing about what we do. And I'm so ripe and ready for mentoring about niching.
Yes.
Because I work with a modality that works with current niche trying hard to fit myself into is about birth trauma and about women in having babies, although that too, but it's about dealing with the trauma that we picked up on the way in. So looking at our own entry to life and the imprints from that time that may be holding us back in life, in birth, in business. So as you can see, I've slipped out of my niche already.
Yeah, it's so tricky, isn't it, when you realize that what you're doing can help everyone. Everyone in the whole world is born, and everyone in the whole world has imprints. And the pregnancy and, of course, the way we enter the world on the birth has an enormous effect on us. I can absolutely resonate, and I feel that way with mindfulness. And mindfulness can help everyone. So it's like, how do we niche? How do we really tune in to the people that we want to help the most with this? And when I look at niching, it's all about what lights you up in your heart, and it's all about your ideal client. So when we're niching, a great example of niching.
My Facebook.
A great example of niching would be, I am an accountant and I work with men who are aged between 35 and 50, and they are personal trainers. So you can see that not only are you just an accountant and you do everything for everyone like an accountant can, you're very specific that you work with men and they have a very specific age range. And not only that, but the men you work with are very specific in the industry that they work with. So it's almost like you can kind of niche like 3 or 4 times. So when I started my business, I really wanted to work with families. That was something I wanted to work with kids, families, and so my niche was kids yoga, which is very niche. Yoga is, of course, huge. My niche was kids, and that then flowed into working with mums, and that I became the mindful mama mentor with my book Mother Om, and then now that's manifested into me working with mindful mothers with young children who want a business or have a business. So again, niche, it gets quite niched. So how do you feel when you think about your niche? Who do you feel gets the most benefit from this beautiful service that you offer?
I have found niching really hard, and I find that question a little bit challenging too, because I've worked with people in such a wide cross-section. I've worked with 60-year-old men healing their circumcision trauma. Yeah. I've worked with people approaching death and needing to embrace, a conscious demise. And the modality that I work with has birth in the title. It's called Birth into Being Method. And it's in my interests business-wise to keep that title and use, not just the method, but actually, keep myself aligned with the international group of Birth into Being practitioners. And I love working with couples as they prepare for birth. I find that the people that find me and find this work are fairly advanced seekers. They're not after anatomy. They're not after learning how to breathe, through the labour. They're really looking at, what can I do to get myself out of the way and approach this birth with full consciousness and awareness and bring some of that into my baby's life. And give them the best possible entry. They're aware that that birth is about much, much more than the physical.
Yeah.
and they're aware how their mindset and you know, their fears and blocks and family trauma, whatever, can really get in the way of their labour progressing smoothly.
Yeah.
So I love those couples, and I just recently had a couple come to Bellingen and do a series of private sessions with me over the course of a weekend, and that was like an awesome model. I've definitely had people travel to come to workshops, but then there's, you know, anywhere from 8 to 30 people in a workshop, but doing it, you know, privately like this, that was really awesome, and I really would love to attract more of that in, especially the part where they travel to me.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah, because I live in a beautiful place, and it's lovely for people to come and, you know, stay in an Airbnb and
It's a baby moon. Woohoo! You could say, come and have your baby moon in this beautiful area, and I'll give you some conscious coupling workshops around having this beautiful birth. So that could actually be some kind of beautiful little retreat package that you put together to attract people to come to you. So my next question would be, are you wanting to work with first-time parents? Because I know from my own experience, I was exactly your type of market. I wanted a very conscious birth. I was very aware, did a lot of yoga. I guess I wanted to have this very natural birthing experience with my son. And I got a emergency cesarean full of drugs, everything I didn't want. And that was an incredibly traumatic experience for me. So when I had my daughter, which was a drug-free VBAC, vaginal birth after cesarean, of course, I went to do the birthing course. I did Nadine Richardson's She Births program. She's the most amazing facilitator, and she's actually my daughter's godmother, and she's a wonderful friend of mine. But the need for me to do that course was so much greater because of the experience I'd had with my first birth, which really was traumatic. So I've found that when I try to sell or talk about Mother On, my products with first-time parents, they're in a bubble. They don't know what's coming.
They don't know.
Yes, they don't know. Right, so birth is the unknown. There is a lot of fear there, but really they have no idea what's coming. So therefore, they're very hard to sell your products and services to, unless it's, you know, maternity wear or baby products or things that are quite materialistic and tangible. So
yeah, look, from a business perspective, maybe it would be definitely easier to market to people who have already had a traumatic experience and are, you know, really actually looking for empowerment skills. However, you know, working with first baby parents is amazing too, because like, for example, using this couple that came a couple of weeks ago, they're so in love and they're so, you know, being allowed into that or invited into that intimate space with them is beautiful. It is an absolute honour and a privilege to spend time with them in that space. You know, I feel like it really gives me something too.
Yeah.
And I feel I didn't quite get to say it at the end, but another one of the sort of categories of people that I like to work with is the preconception couples, because those that look and find, you know, what I'm offering, which is kind of like spiritual preparation for conception or birth, they're also like absolutely gorgeous to be with. You know, like whenever I have a workshop, and it's usually a mixed group, because I've been struggling with niching for years, so my groups are quite varied. You know, and you might have a much older person with a whole bunch of young couples, or, you know, and it's not just couples, there's singles and birth workers as well, wanting to generate more trust in birth. But, you know, the preconception couples, everybody falls in love with them. Like, you could eat them. They are so gorgeous. You know, like, they are opening themselves up to the universe. They're really consciously saying, we are calling this baby in, and we're going to get rid of all of our own blocks and fears. We're going to get rid of the family trauma, all this ancestral bullshit. We've had enough. We're really drawing the line, and here we are. We're reading all the right books, and we're here on your doorstep, Nicole. You know, and I love them too. So I hear you. From a business point of view, maybe that's, you know, really advantageous. And that's the struggle that I've had with niching, even just within the birth forum. And like I said, there's plenty of people outside of being, approaching birth that are also great to work with. But even within the birth forum, there's like hundreds of different sort of categories or niches, and they're all gorgeous.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I really feel when we start a business and we realize we have these gifts that we want to share, it can be very difficult for us to nail down a specific niche. And the reason why we niche is that it's so much easier to become an expert, guru, whatever you title, maven, whatever you want to call yourself, when you niche, because you're much more likely to become, I guess we'll use the word expert, even though I don't massively love that word. But, when you say, I work with first-time parents who are spiritual and consciously connected and want to have a beautiful traumatic-free, not traumatic, like a beautiful birth, however that unfolds for them. The language that you're going to use in the content to attract those clients is going to be very different. You can use spiritual language that they would resonate with. Whereas if you were then speaking to someone who wasn't in that space, or maybe they've had a traumatic birth and they're now wanting to have a very healing and empowering experience, which we know 100% birth can be the most transformative, healing and empowering experience. For me personally, it was extraordinary. But the language that you need to use is very different when you're calling in those people. So what I would suggest you do, and this is something that, if you look at customer journey mapping or really understanding your ideal client, is to actually get a bit of A3 paper and put a picture of your ideal couple in the middle. So it could be the couple that you just worked with. Yep, you put them in the middle. And then you almost, at the top, you would put their problems, if you like, or the outcomes that they want to achieve. So this is Joan and Harry. I'm just saying that because my friend had twins recently and it's just the cutest names. So this is Joan and Harry, and they want to have a beautiful birthing experience that brings them together, reunites them as a couple with this deep transformation experience, and they want to obviously birth a healthy baby and, with the least trauma associated with that. And then you would want to write about what their fears are, what the problems are that you're going to be solving, and then what are the outcomes that you can deliver for that couple. And it's almost like a mind map.
Yeah. Just jotting down some notes.
Yep, jot it down. So put their beautiful faces in the middle. And what you can also do, that I do, as you know I did with you and I do with all the people I interview, is I get them to answer questions. I get them to answer questions, and I use that information to know what to talk about. But also I can then do that. I can then put your face on a bit of paper, and I know your goals, your dreams, your desires, your struggles, and I can then map out a product to help you with that. And I can do that for, or you can do that for your couples who are yet to birth. You can do that for your couples who are birthing for the second time. You can even do that with other people that you work with that don't fit into the pregnancy and birth category. So you could run individual workshops, but they're very specific on the target market. So the content you're delivering totally matches their needs, their desires, their outcomes. And then the work is a lot more powerful when you're delivering that, because if you've got someone who's if you're doing a very varied workshop, the needs, wants and desires and outcomes are going to be very different for each person.
The way that that's worked for me so far has been that there's, wonderful group alchemy that, most facilitators are very familiar with, of how everybody's stories so gracefully and beautifully feed into everybody's stories and create this kind of matching pictures, so that it has actually worked out really beautifully. And I think that's in a way held me back from the need to niche. It's only since wanting to move into an online space that this has really come up, because because in a sort of mixed audience of workshop, it's actually been beautiful, and people will be like, oh, I'm so happy that this person is here because what they've taught me, or so like, let's say a couple with a second birth, and a traumatic first birth are there. they're showing the preconception
Yeah.
people how important it is to do their preparation,
Yeah.
and all that sort of perfect.
Okay, absolutely.
So
I
I
can
totally get
absolutely,
you,
yeah.
but somehow or other it's managed to go under my radar.
Okay, so that's a
Anyway,
very different scenario.
and the other thing
So the live workshops then, you're the facilitator, which means you can read all the energy and respond to all those beautiful people with their stories. You can't do that online. So therefore, when you're looking at niching, if it's an online program, it absolutely has to be niched. Because if they're doing modules and they're doing content, it has to be so based around their needs. So in a live workshop, it's absolutely okay to bring in all these beautiful people and connect with this energy, and hand magic happens in that space. That's 100% perfect. But to maximize your business success online, you wouldn't be able to facilitate that because you're not physically there. Now, you can run modules, you can run live coaching calls, depending on how you want to roll out that content. But if you're making a video and you're talking about something very specific, you can't have too many different people that you're targeting on that one video because it's very confusing. So
yeah,
in the online space, niching is even more important.
got it. I have run an online course twice now, but I'm doing the really simple kind of live call rollout of it, and I've got round 3 coming up, and then after that round 3 I was gonna start to package it into something a bit longer and involving less face-to-face contact. So that's really good to hear what you just said, and I definitely get that. And yeah,
so doing an online course is wonderful because the content completely answers the fears, doubts, worries that either a first-time couple may have or a second-time couple may have. So if you're making a video on how they may be feeling, they're in a very different space. So the language that you're using and the content that you're creating, it's almost a relief to say this is just for couples who are on a beautiful path of conception right now. So this is the online course. There's live mentoring, there's live group coaching, bringing couples together. There's still that lovely sense of sharing. But also for live coaching, you need accountability, because quite often I know that with the mums that do my online program, they just do it for they do 20% and then they just get distracted. So having that accountability is really, look, birth is different, right? There is a deadline, the baby is coming and there's a massive sense of urgency, which is wonderful for you, that they have to complete that. But if you feel like the live workshops you're doing, there's magic in that, do not change it. But the niching is more for online.
Yeah. However, I have to say too that with the live workshops, part of why I'm wanting, as well as niching becoming more necessary now that I'm moving into online stuff, it's also necessary because I'd rather the groups came together without as much input from me as I'm currently doing. Yeah. And so, I have twisted and turned and tried to wriggle my way out of niching for, I've known about the term for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I have done my absolute best to avoid it. And now here I am. I'm like, everything I do, it comes down to niching. I've done a whole bunch of stuff with Tash Corbin in her various programs, Get With The Program and all that. And it's all comes down to the same thing. I have to decide who I'm working with. And like I said, I am at the beginning of the call, I am really trying to bring it down to preconception and birth preparation.
Yeah, beautiful.
Saying that, I know that that's still 2 niches, but at least they're very aligned.
Yes.
But I do find myself, even though I've decided, I so struggle to narrow it down. And I know that a lot of people have this struggle, and I'm wondering why it's so hard. Do you know?
Well, absolutely, because I guess we do want to help and heal so many people, and something that I feel resonates really deeply when you're creating a business is why are you doing it? Why are you doing your business? What is it that makes you wake up every day and want to share this with the world? So why are you actually doing it?
Me? Yeah. I'm doing it because I really strongly believe that the way that we bring our babies in has a very, very strong correlation to how we live our lives. And I see the need for us as a species to stay connected to each other, to the planet. And, you know, if we are going to survive at all, you know, we need to actually really feel very strongly that connection. And, you know, it's my understanding through all of my research with pre and perinatal psychology and all the different things, like, for example, Michelle Odon has this thing called the Primal Institute, where they're actually keeping records of what's happening in terms of intervention and outcomes later in life. And, you know, it's a tricky area because, you know, lots of people have lots of vulnerabilities around that. And, you know, I totally understand that, you know, lots of people have been in situations that they didn't choose, and, you know, and it's really hard. But what I'm trying to do is raise awareness of those correlations so that then we can work with the imprints and so that we can try and stay connected as a species and make the changes that we need to make if we want our natural world to continue. So that's kind of my driving force is, you know, we need to evolve quite rapidly. You know, and we are, and I'm just part of the wave, you know, this enormous groundswell. All the mamas out there who are conscious parenting and doing their absolute best to, you know, contribute to a society where peace and love and connection and environmental responsibility is top of the list. So that's where I'm coming from. That's my big thing. It's all about conscious.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful, and such a clear vision, which I love. Yeah, it's big, and it's big, but it sounds to me like your work is at its most powerful in the form of preventing any kind of trauma. So if we're preventing that, and so if you're working with the preconception, and if you're working with the birthing into being of the beautiful new conscious children of the stars that are coming in, it's like your work is at its most powerful working with these couples who are in conception phase or are in birthing phase for the first time. For the first time. So it sounds to me like you know your niche. You know your niche. You've told me your niche already in this conversation. It is those couples that you had come up at the weekend and this beautiful magic that you find yourself in. And your work has its most power when you can reach those people because they are birthing the new planet, the new children. You know, it's like, yes, we can help the 60-year-old man that's still struggling with his birth trauma. But if we can prevent that from happening in this new age of Aquarius with these beautiful children being born, that's more powerful. So how does that feel?
It's interesting. I've never connected. Feels good, and I've never connected the why with the niche of weeks that was raised, but it didn't really land in me. And when you say, well, how can I sort of most directly achieve my why? It does make a lot of sense, which is fantastic.
Yay! Yay!
Breakthrough.
It's so true, though, right? We wake up every day and we're like, why are we doing what we're doing? Like, there's frustrations around money. There's frustrations around, you know, not having enough time. There's frustrations like, I've got kids and I want to be, you know, healing the world. And it's like our why is so important because it continues us to evolve and grow and share. And so the more we can get reconnected back to why we're doing what we're doing, we're then able to transmit that passion into our work. And I'm always like, who needs it the most? Who needs compassion, love, acceptance? Mums. Right? Mums need it the most. Oh, hang on. Mums in business with young children, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like, okay, so why do I wake up every day and do what I do? Okay, so how can I transmute that passion and fire into my work? And what's got the greatest impact that I'm going to do on this planet? What's the legacy I'm going to leave? Who do I need to work with to make that happen? And I feel like from this conversation, it's the couples calling in the children, and it's the couples then birthing those children.
Do you think that having kind of conscious conception and birth preparation, first time parent birth preparation, do you feel like that's too wide to fit into the same niche?
No, it's perfect. It's do the conscious course with me to conceive. Then once you've conceived, do my second program, which is birthing that child into being. It's perfect. It's a perfect sales funnel. And what you can also do is you can go and create amazing partnerships, so that you can go, this is my program, this is what I'm offering, these are the couples I'm calling in. And then you've got them in, whether you call it a sales funnel or a basket or whatever you want to call it, but you're then creating this, you've got the couples that come and do this beautiful program, they get pregnant, and you can go and create partnerships with people that help with fertility and nutrition and, getting them into this beautiful space so their bodies are clean and their minds are clean, and lots of mindset work. They then conceive, and they can then obviously work with you throughout that process to then lead them up to birth. Like you could easily create a 9-month program working on all the mindset, the ancestral lineage. All of that can be part of your program, but it's a beautiful way. So your first program is very much helping them prepare for conception. And then your second program is that lead between the conception to the pregnancy. And then you could even have another program that's helping them. Obviously gets a little messy once they've had the baby, because the time it's harder to do something once baby is born, because you're in that 4th trimester. But the tools that you could teach them are so powerful. And we know pregnancy, especially for women, when they're in that sacral chakra energy, they're just so open energetically, and they're birthing way more than just a baby.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot in the more advanced processes that we do. There is actually a lot that really, really helps with your parenting as well, because, it's not easy.
No, not at all.
And, there's so many challenges along the way, many of which relate directly to the way we were parented.
Absolutely.
And, our responses to that. And, very often what we don't want for our kids is informed by what we received. And,
of course.
There's so much work that we do that's also directly related to your capacity to love, and your capacity of giving, which, as we all know, is stretched beyond belief as a mother and beyond, anything that any of us ever experienced as individual beings. Once you're a mother, it's like, you've got to give even when you cannot give anymore.
Yep.
And you've got to find it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot for you to reflect on there.
Interesting.
I also feel, I feel like there's I feel like the biggest niche that it is the couples that want to conceive in this way. Because conceiving a child is so much more than just the actual conception, the physical sperm meets egg. It's so much more than, calling in a child. And for some people, obviously happens very quickly and it's a surprise. With my daughter, she just came so quickly. But with my son, it was 12 months. And I was really focused on that, and it was a stressful time, and I was really mindful of what I ate, and I was getting, tested for all this stuff, and it was really in my head. And it wasn't until I kind of let go of all of that I actually got pregnant. And so I feel like there's so much pressure on a specific age group, those early 30s, married maybe or partnered up, and their friends are starting to fall pregnant. And so there's the pressure of what's happening with their friends. And then if they're struggling to then conceive, and maybe it takes them a few years, there's a real space there for you to work energetically with them.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I was on a call with Tash. I think it was the Lean Startup Circle that happened recently. And I said, we were having a bit of my question was around niching, and, I've been moving through this for a while. And when I said something about the conscious conception couples actually being probably the smallest niche.
Yeah, it's incredible.
That I could choose, in terms of, my business also being financially viable and sustainable, like I spend my life on.
Yes. Oh no, looks like we may have lost connection with Nicole. Let's hope she comes back to us. Sitting in her beautiful garden there. Well, look, unfortunately, we may have lost connection. So I'm going to say thank you so much to Nicole. And this has been a wonderful session for me to be able to offer my skills to her. And of course, if you are wanting to be mentored by me, you can just connect with me through www.leoniepercy.com. And you can connect with me through my Magnetic Mama Entrepreneur group on Facebook as well. So thank you so much. Bye.